You guys should be excited for this. Everybody stand up for me. Let's give Morgan a big hand. Let's go, Morgan! Let's go!
Thank you, Mark. Love you too. Thank you. I'm going to give a warning. This is actually my first time speaking to you guys, and also another big part of really my first time as a whole group saying my story. And, and it's nothing to start off anything crazy. I've been truly blessed to have the family that I did. My parents are still married, and, they still love me, thank God. And I had two great grandparents that I got to stay with a lot. Never really moved schools. I ain't really had to worry much about money or anything like that. I was blessed. We lived out in the middle of nowhere, and we lived out in Spalding, out in the sticks. Step outside in the back porch, hear banjos, and I didn't really get to hang out with friends. My parents were busy; they were teachers, and in the summertime they're working. I didn't get to hang out with friends a lot, and I was close with my friends. I like my friends. School honestly was a blast to me back then because I got to see them, and I didn't really go hang out with them in town because I never asked, because my parents either say yes or I knew they were going to say no, and I didn't want to waste my time. Well, I got to play baseball, coach pitch, kid pitch, and everything. And as much as I love the game, that was also an outlet for me to hang out with some of my friends. And I was attached to them. Those are my guys. And until I got older, I was a little bit more aware. Going into my third grade year, my best friend, his name was Justin Mathis. He moved away the week before. I got to go to school on the first day, and they said, "Man, it sucks that Justin moved." And I was looking for him the whole time. I'm like, "He moved?" And they said, "Yeah." And they said he moved to Iowa with his mom. And I had no idea. And I guess his birthday was in the first week of August. And, I never got to hear anything because, this was before Facebook too. I'm old. And I didn't know. That kind of hit me hard. And then after third grade, I had two more friends move. And after that, it just kind of sucked. And I was blessed. I wasn't just stuck at home in the middle of nowhere bored. Instead of doing that, I got to go to my grandparents. I go to Van Os with my papa and nana. My papa built houses. He's a carpenter. He built houses all across the area. And he was tight. The thing is I looked up to him. I got to learn a lot. My grandpa shouldn't have been who he was. It's an act of God that he got to be who he was, because he had to start driving at 9 years old because when he was 9, his daddy left him. And they were poor. And when I say poor, they set up buckets around the house because it would rain through their roofs. And sometimes it wouldn't be normal for him to wake up with snow in the house, and that's how he found out it was snowing. So he had to start driving at 9 years old. And when I say his dad left him, he didn't just leave him, he beat him. And it was bad. He had a club in the house that he beat his kids with. And whenever he left, he had to keep guns to protect his mom. And my great-grandma, she couldn't read or write, so it was tight. Money back then in the 40s, it's a different world. And he was kind of bitter growing up about it, but luckily he was a great dad to my mom, and I looked up to him, and trust me, his rough love came through. I remember, Manning remembers, we had to plant potatoes one time, and I was hot, and heaven forbid you ever show a sign that you're tired, and he wouldn't be afraid to lovingly cuss at us a little bit and call us a couple things, but after we got in the truck, he'd drop us off and go to KFC or go get something to eat. And the guy was my rock. And on the other side of my family, we had get-togethers all the time, and my Uncle Micah, it wouldn't be anything ordinary that we're just sitting at home and we go play wiffle ball. And I didn't really get to hang out with my friends from school. I seen them during the school year, and some of them that played baseball, I'd see them in the summertime. But luckily, I had a bunch of cousins in the area. I'd hang out with them in the summer. And going into, middle school, my Uncle Micah started getting sick. And they didn't know what it was. And, they ran a bunch of treatments, and they come to find out that he had a type of leukemia. And they asked my Papa John, who lives in Texas, they asked my dad, all my uncles, and they found out that my dad was a match. So my dad would go give bone marrow to my Uncle Micah. And during all this, my Uncle Micah, he was a unique character. He'd make him stay up late. We always stayed over at New Year's Eve. He'd make them play this game. I guess it was like Axes and Allies or something like that. Me and my cousin would go play hide and seek in the dark, and he got us all together, and that was the normal for me. getting dry mouth. After about a year, and my dad was he'd go in every now and then, donate bone marrow. They took a picture. Micah beat it. And I was a big get together. We usually used to go over on Sundays. We used to go eat. And we used to go eat. It wasn't anything on there. Just meet up today. When it'd be friendly, we'd play football, wiffle ball, anything. It was we were close. Well, after my 7th grade year, he wanted to meet up because my Uncle Josh has got a house out by Bing, and we're just going to meet. We want to play wiffle ball. And he just got out of treatment into school, just a random get-together. And I remember Manning had a beginning of the season summer league tournament, so we couldn't really stay long. We played a full game, don't worry. And we played with a thing called a sky ball. Some of y'all may know what that is. It's not just any wiffle ball. If you hit this thing, man, it could go over 300 feet. It was pretty fun, but it was a dead heat. And we go out and we used phone books. We didn't have bases. All we had was bat and ball. We used phone books, ripped them up in Josh's yard and played. And we left. And as we're leaving, my mom and dad get a text saying that I think Micah got too hot. He probably did too much. Typical. He wasn't ever going to give up. And said he was shaking, so they put a blanket on him. Well, the days kind of passed, a couple of days passed, and it never really got better. He still getting sick. He was weak. He was pale. And on May 20th, my Aunt Rachel tells us that they're sent him to the hospital because he's turning blue. At this time, my cousins that go to Latta, Connor and Caton, I think Connor, man, I think he had to be like 10 or 11, and Caton maybe like 8. It was a long time. I was thinking about them and my Aunt Rachel because we just got done with this, and they're sending them back. And if you know anything about May 20th that year is when the tornado ripped through Moore, and they couldn't Medi-Flight them to OU, so they had to take an ambulance. And my mom and dad was ready to leave, but my dad had to pay the water bill at Johnson, and I'm thinking, because I'm kind of nervous, and I'm 13 at the time, so I'm more aware, and I'm kind of wondering, I'm like, nothing's going to happen. I asked my dad as he's going to go to the paid water bill, because you can see the clouds coming. You got those little marshmallow clouds, and it's, the breeze is changing. We're from Oklahoma. We know what it's like. And I asked him, I'm like, are you nervous? And he looked at me, and he said, I ain't nervous. And I don't know what kind of vibe I was on, but I asked him, I said, how are you not nervous? And he told me, he said, the Bible says not to be nervous. He said, that's a sin. He said, it's all going to be under control. He said, there's nothing to worry about. I kind of just sat there, and Caleb was on, and we listened, and he paid his water bill, and I went and stayed the night at Papa and Nana's. And I remember days going by, and I was worried. I didn't have a phone. I never got a phone until my freshman year, so that was kind of tough. And I remember wondering every day what was happening. I'd ask my Papa and Nana. My Nana would be texting my mom, like, what's going on? What's going on? And they say, oh, he's doing good. They're just running tests and everything, and he'll be fine. And I was like, okay. And I remember May 22nd, my Nana woke me up. And she said, hey, you hungry? I mean, I was 13. Look at me. I was like, yeah, I'm hungry. And she said, you want to make some eggs? I was like, yeah, let's make some eggs. And I made eggs and everything. And we get done, and my mom and dad come in through the door. And I'm like, what are y'all doing? And they said, oh, we had to go back and do laundry. They said, stayed up there a little bit longer than we thought, which is true. So I'm like, all right, they're staying up. I get done eating. They're talking in the living room, and I'm in the den just kind of hanging out, playing on a computer. And my mom calls me and my brother over, and they said, hey, we got to talk to y'all real quick. And, I didn't think anything of it. I just thought it was going to be a whole, hey, we don't know how long we're going to be gone. This is taking longer than expected. See you again. And she said, we got to talk to y'all. And it was a little bit quiet. My dad said, boys, said, your Uncle Micah, and, I never seen it. I never seen him do this, and whenever you see your dad break down crying. It's something different. And that's the first time I seen him cry. He started crying. He said, "Boys, your Uncle Micah passed away this morning." And that hurt. Like, that was the first death, like, really that hit me home. I didn't believe him. The whole time I'm being led, I was thinking, all right, he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. And then, even they came in, and I was thinking, you came in and told me, he was fine, and you told me he wasn't. And, it kind of upset me a little bit, because it's like you lied to me. I kind of got to thinking, and I'm going to be honest, even at 13 years old to now, my temper isn't the best, and my patience isn't as thick as it should be, and I kind of got frustrated. We went over, and we stayed a couple days at my aunt's, hung out with Connor and Kate, and it was tough. And my papa and Nana was really great for me. They kept us in, and my papa talked to me, and I just didn't know where to really go from there. That summer went by like a flash, and I was going into my 8th grade school year. Well, come to that basketball season, my papa starts getting a pain in his side, but they don't think it's anything crazy. He's had so many different things like hernias and stuff, so I didn't think anything of it. And he would always talk to me because he kind of picked up on me, and, I'd be a little bit mad. I'd be frustrated. He always knew when something was wrong with us. And he'd ask, Manning remembers, he'd always ask, "So what's on your mind?" And it's like, I could be mad at the world, but it's like, I ain't going to talk to you about it. And he'll get it out of you. And they said he has a pain in his side. And I didn't think anything of it. They run some tests, and one of the things show up that his gallbladder's on 8% function. And they said, my mom and dad said, it's just his gallbladder, this is a normal thing. They got to take it out. And like I said, I didn't have a phone. I couldn't really text or call anybody that I wanted to. So I was kind of stuck there stranded again. And I remember the day before his surgery, it's baseball season, fast forward, because, they take their time scheduling operations. We were playing in a tournament at Asher Junior High. And it was during the school. I wasn't really used to not having my my parents there and stuff. And I remember, I think it was like my first at bat or something. The kid throws a first pitch curveball at me, and I'd look stupid. I swing way out in front like an idiot, and I'm thinking, well, thank God my mom and dad ain't here to bicker at me. And all of a sudden, I hear something that says, "How about you stay back on something and drive it?" And I'm taking my prep. I look down at the parking lot. And there's that white GMC my papa drove, and we see the big hand. My papa was a big dude. He was, I think he was like 6 foot, and he weighed over 300 pounds. True story. His neck was bad from building houses, so he'd back up the trailers and he'd just pick them up and put them on. The guy was a unit. And, it made me feel better. I don't even remember what I did. I probably struck out like an idiot and went on. And he told me after, he said, "You hungry?" And I'm like, "I don't know if I can ride with you. My parents ain't here." And he told me to ask my coach, which was Mr. Penrod, for some of you latter guys that know him. And he okayed it. Yeah. Hey, we're blessed to make it. And I went with him, and I asked him about his operation and everything. He's like, "Yeah, they're going to have to cut me open and figure out what's wrong with me." He was really just blunt and everything, and I hung out with him, and we got there, and he liked eating greasy food, but I guess when your gallbladder's going out, you can't eat greasy food, so he had to eat soup. That was great. Wasn't the happiest person when my nan asked what soup he wanted, cream of chicken or chicken noodle. It was different. And he took me home. And, not having a phone, I was frustrated because I think we had some event. I was like, why can't I just have a phone? And I'm going to be honest, it wasn't a big deal. I guess I'll blame it on my being a teenager. I kind of had a meltdown on my parents. And when I'm mad, I kind of wanted them to know I was mad. It was after dinner. We got into it after dinner, and, I go and I just slammed the door, because it's like, if you don't think I'm mad, Mom and Dad, trust me, I'm mad still, so don't even bother me. And my parents did the thing that we all probably hate the most after that, and they said, "Morgan, Manning, come here." And I'm like, oh, my God, leave me alone. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm about to get, preached at. I'm not in the mood. So I go in there and plop on the couch, waste my time. It's 10 o'clock. And my mom and dad said, "Boys, your papa had surgery today." I'm like, yeah, you told me it was good because I asked. And they said that the surgery went good, but they noticed something in the scans, and while they're inside, on your papa's liver, and they said that there were spots that they believe are cancer, and they said that they don't think it is. It may just be something else. If it's cancer, they said it shouldn't be anything bad because it's just a little spots. They said they found it early. They just got to make sure where it is. And I went from raging because I was mad, and I'm thinking I'm going to get lectured to, and then you tell me that, it brought me down, and it's like you sunk, like because you just get over that Micah death, and school's finishing up and everything, and then my papa probably has cancer, and it was one of those just like surely not. Well, a couple of weeks go by, and they're running tests, and I remember it was a roller coaster because they said that they checked the spots on the liver and they found pancreatic cells. So they think the cancers come from the pancreas, and that's not a good situation. And then the next update I get is it's not the pancreas, but they got to keep looking. They check the stomach, they check the lungs, heart, everything clean. And the last thing they had to do was a colonoscopy. And by that time we were out of school. Dad was still working because he was principal at the middle school, and me and Manning went with Mom. And man, it was like 3 or 4 hours, and I'm kind of like getting hungry. It's like, man, we gotta hurry. And they're thinking surely not. They just think maybe you see spots on the liver, they'll be fine. And I remember Mom telling us, we prayed like 3 times, and Mom told us like, hey, if the doctor comes in, you're also gonna have to step out for a little bit. Which okay, I wouldn't understand what they're saying anyway. They use big words. And the doctor comes in. I had to use the bathroom. It was good timing. We step out. We go, and I remember coming back to the waiting room to my mom holding my Nana, and she's crying. That's not a good sign. And on the table was like a golf ball-sized tumor they found in him. And my Nana was saying he's got cancer. And I remember my papa was still woozy because they knock you out on colonoscopies, and we went and checked on him, and I remember looking, I'm like, you got to have this. And he asked what happened, and the doctor said, Mr. Walker, we found a tumor. And, my papa looked at it, I said, just one? And he said, yeah. He said, that's all, because he was still woozy. And he said, we got this. And after that, they start doing the chemo. Like, here, this is what we're going to have to start doing. Here's the treatment you got to do. And my papa was worried about his houses. He still would go to work. He still would do all that. He'd have a pouch, with this chemo and stuff hooked in him. And I remember sometimes there'd be days he'd be too tired to drive, so Nana would drive us. And my Nana went to Abbott's, and he sat there and he said, he just looked and said, boys, he said, I don't know if I'm going to survive this. He said, but just know everything's going to be all right. And, I told him because I'm like, dude, you're going to survive this because it's like this ain't going to take you down. And I would tell him that. And the thing about cancer is you got to poison yourself to get rid of it. And I seen my papa change, and his hair starts changing. It goes from white, and then there was one day he freaked out because he combed his hair and the hair came out. And we eventually shaved his head, and he just wasn't him. He used to be like, he was tan because he was always outside. He was big, and then he started getting paler, and then he started shredding weight. And it was putting aware because you started seeing the writing on the wall that this isn't going to go the way you expected. And I started having these thoughts. It's like this isn't going to go the way I want it to again. At Holdenville, basketball season comes. My papa can't walk. We have to help him. We get this walker thing for him, and it's our basketball season, so he couldn't go to my games. He couldn't go to anything like that, and it sucked him not being there, and neither with Nana because she would stay with him. And we sucked at junior high, and we had a freshman team, And 7th, 8th grade, 9th grade, man, we didn't win a single game besides one. And I remember vividly. We played at an Prague tournament against Perkins, and we beat them. They were punks too, felt great. And I look in the stands, and I just see Dad Manning. And I asked him, where's Mom? And they said, Papa got sick. And I was thinking, okay. Because at this time, he wasn't him. They laid off chemo 2 months ago on Christmas time. That was the Christmas time news I got, was whenever they said he was done. And I remember thinking, I hope everything's all right. So when I get in the car, I have my phone. Finally got a phone. I text my mom. Said, is everything okay? She said, yeah, he's just sleeping it off now. And I wake up the next morning. Mom's not home. And Dad told me he was sleeping. But when I looked in their room to find him, because I slept in, we got in late, she wasn't there. We go. Me and Manning would shoot hoops. We'd leave at 7:45 all the time so he could take me to the high school. And as the clock comes, I realized I wasn't going to school. And I knew something happened. I go, Dad comes and tells me, Manning, go put your bags in the truck, we're going. And they told us, we get home, and I'm kind of just sitting there in the fact that I think today changed, for the worst. And we get home, and Dad sits us down again and says, boys, your papa passed away in his sleep last night. And I'm going to be honest, I went crazy. I was mad at my mom because she, I was like, you lied to me. And I held it in. I held it in for 2 years because when I got my driver's license, she called me out thinking I was lying. And I told her I eventually broke. And I said, you of all people saying I'm lying, said you told me Papa was okay, and I wake up the next morning to find out he died. And I found out that she left because they had school pictures, and the hospice said that he'd have another week. And he passed away in his sleep, and Mom woke up at 5 a.m. to my Nana screaming because she woke up to him dead. And I took that out on my mom. That wasn't great. And I went insane. It wasn't good. Man, when I tell you I was depressed, I was depressed. I didn't want to be here. I'm going to be honest. I didn't want to be here. Luckily, high school was great for distracting me. Sports was a way out. I wasn't the greatest. It didn't matter. I had fun. I had some friends, my close group. When I graduated, they left. And I was stuck there with my thoughts, and I didn't have really anything to get me out. And I remember going home, and I hate sharing this, man, but I got a gun. And I was ready. I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, this is it. I'm not doing this no more. My parents went home. I was off work. I was like, I'm done. I didn't want to be here. I was just over it. And I was sitting there thinking, the only thing stopping me is that I don't want my mama going to another funeral. My Nana's been through enough. I said my dad lost his little brother after giving him his own self, and I don't want them coming. I'm sitting there thinking, but I don't want to be here. And I get a phone call from my Nana, and she says, I need help feeding. Can you come help me? And it snapped me out. And even to this day, because I'm going to be honest, today I still struggle. I struggle with thoughts. Not as bad as those, but it wears on me. And I remember telling myself, if you were to do it, that had to be the day. It's because you can't do it after that. My friend group, my closest friends, they moved out. Just call it, one went to California, one went to Minnesota, another one went into the Northeast, and I didn't really have them. And all I had left was the guys I went to school with. And my parents didn't know any of this was going on. And I should have told them, but they found out in the worst way. One night, one of my buddies was going through a breakup, and these guys were playing Fortnite, and they were just sucking it up. They were terrible. And he said, how about this? For the next game, however many kills y'all get, me and Morgan here will take a shot. I'm like, these guys ain't getting 1 or 2 kills. I can hold that. And as you'd have it, they got 6 kills. And I wasn't in a good state of mind at the time, and I'm like, whatever. I don't care. I took 6 shots, man. And I didn't drink. And it took me out. remember somewhat sobering up, and I hate myself for doing this, but I drove home, and my parents realized something was up, and they smelled it on me, and they told me, they sat me down. They thought I did something stupid. They're getting ready to tell me, what did you do? And I eventually broke down. They thought this was something stupid, and I told them why I did it. And it's to this day, it's rough. It's rough. But my mom, I told them, because it was like, I didn't want to be misunderstood. I was misunderstood. No one understands what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't think people understand how easy it is to really lose yourself, like I did. It was like no one understood what I was saying. I felt like no one really seen things the way I did. And my mom always showed me these Bible verses, like one, Matthew 11:28 says, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." And John 16:33 said, "I have said these things to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world." And my advice to anyone going through any of these is, first off, it's okay to feel something. You lose somebody, you go through something, it's okay to lose your mind. Like, feelings are part of life, whether we like it or not, as whack as they are. Trust me, I hate it, but it's part of it. It's okay to have your bad days. And it's okay to reach out. I may not understand what you're going through, but I know what it's like to be misunderstood or feel like you're misunderstood and no one gets what you're trying to say. And it's rough. Every time, I can sit on a couch and I'll just look ahead and, you just get to thinking, you hear like these voices swirling in your head and you blink and you look and it's 3 a.m. and it's bad. I don't want anybody going through that. And it's hard. Trust me, reaching out is hard. You don't want to be a burden on anybody. You don't want to feel like you're saying something. You don't want them telling everybody your business. I had trust issues. And I've been there. And it's okay. It's okay to be down. It's okay to get beat up. It's okay to have your moments where you just lash out, everything. You just got to be able to come back. You just got to be able to know who your focus is on. And that's one thing that those verses did. The Bible says it. Look at all the disciples. Look at even Jesus had his trials, man. That's part of life. So if everyone would bow your heads with me. First off, I like to do this each time. If you haven't been saved and you want to get that done right now, would you please raise your hand? All right. And I got one more question. If you're in this room and you feel like, man, I'm misunderstood. No one understands what I'm going through, even my best friends. My parents don't understand. I'm alone out here. They don't get it. Or maybe you are depressed. You're anxious. You don't know what the future holds. Maybe you have a family member going through something like my papa was. Maybe you're afraid of loss. Maybe you're afraid of things not being the way they are. Maybe you're just afraid. You're unsure. Man, if you experience any of those things, would you raise your hand? You ain't alone. Hey, first step is stepping out. It's the hardest thing to do, but I promise you, I see you. I see y'all. It ain't easy. Trust me, it ain't easy. Dear Lord, you know every person in this room. You know their trials. You know their struggles. You know their thoughts. I pray that you help them lean on to you and that they focus on you. I pray that you help them realize that you are their rock. You've never left them. When they were alone, you were there. When they felt lost, you were picking them up. I pray that you help them through these trials and the future ones they have. I pray that they see you for who you are. And I pray that they find the strength to power through, that they find the strength to reach out, and they find the strength to find their purpose you've laid out for them for the rest of their lives. In Jesus' name I pray.